Okay, this isn't going to be like what I normally cover on the channel, so sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy my history lesson for something truly life-changing. Back in the 90s, Street Fighter II was no stranger to receiving multiple updates from its talented development team over at Capcom. Ever since its initial launch in 1991, the game, and series as a whole, exploded in popularity, and all throughout the 90s, Street Fighter mania kicked into overdrive. Following the first iteration was 1992's follow-up, Street Fighter II Champion Edition. Featuring the ability to not only play as the 4 boss characters from the original, but also to play mirror matches, this was a major step up for fans back in the day. After the success of these 2 versions, a Capcom employee by the name of James Goddard, you might have heard of him, he created Weapon Lord, the best fighting game ever, wandered into San Jose's Galaxy Arcade, and he saw this.
Round 2, fight! You win! Perfect!
After playing for 4 hours, he wrote a letter to Capcom Japan detailing his lengthy experience with the game and his overall thoughts on the project. Rainbow Edition is utter shit. Utter garbage. There is no threat here, it is completely unbalanced and it's a fad. Even though he hated the game, he couldn't get it out of his mind, as the next time James had played Champion Edition, he thought, I had just spent the last 4 to 6 hours playing Rainbow Edition at 25% speed increase, so Champ Edition felt like shit, it was so slow. For the next 2 hours I could not shake that, and it threw my timing off. Knowing that if Capcom truly wanted to kill Street Fighter II ROM hacks dead in the water, James needed to convince Capcom Japan to create an update that was faster and more intense than the hack he had played. Eventually, this became Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting, and the series continued on from there with no dark spots whatsoever. But now that the history lesson is out of the way, let's dive deep. What exactly is Rainbow Edition, how does it play, and who made it? Let's find out. Immediately, we're at a crossroads. If you do what any investigative journalist like me would do, your first step would be to go to the Wikipedia page for the game. This is all well and good, but the page lists 2 separate names for developers, and after conducting more research, this name kept popping up, so we'll stick with this. Alongside other industry heavyweights like Konami, Sega, and Ubisoft, Hung Si Enterprise Taiwan was a hacking group from, well, Taiwan. But who was this group exactly? No one knows. The hackers behind the game kept their identities secret, so no one knows who they truly are. If I were a better content creator, I'd pull a Nick Robinson and fly to Taiwan to find out who these people are, but I can't be bothered leaving my bedroom, so I'll just stick with the fact that they're anonymous. What's also anonymous is their motivation for making this ROM hack. Money? Influence? Ego? Maybe there were a group of blind meerkats working in a Taiwanese sweatshop as part of a larger group. Again, absolutely no one knows. This isn't good. Half the fun of writing these stupid videos is putting cool, obscure facts in the script for me to discuss. So let's move on to something that I do know for a fact. This game is nuts. Buckle up, boys, because this is where things get truly insane. When selecting your character, things may seem normal. You've got the standard character roster and their standard artwork, so it looks official. But as soon as the match starts, you can do this. I don't know if you can tell, but that doesn't look right to me. Every single character went from being balanced, well, as balanced as you could be in the 90s, to so insanely hyper to the point where it makes Marvel vs. Capcom blush. You thought Ryu was the fair and honest Shoto who uses footsies and spacing to control neutral and win matches? Think again. You thought Zangief was the big and slow grappler who wins by intimidating the enemy and hitting them with a big SPD? Nah fam, we've got cracked out speed and air specials now. You thought Guile was the zoner character who frustrates the opponent with his projectiles and anti-airs? Think again, because he can do this now. Another thing this game does is circumvent frustration when picking the wrong character. You know how when you select wrong in the arcade, you can't switch unless you lose, costing you even more money? See what happens when you press the start button during a match. You can't make this up. The best way to think about Rainbow Edition is that it's Street Fighter II if it were developed by a bunch of ADHD gremlins who live in Florida and pass the time by shooting up black tar heroin. One thing that I've never seen before, and this is where the video gets good, is that apparently there's a minor competitive scene for the game in Japan. As the Japanese can't seem to have good video quality for their fighting game uploads, you'll just have to suffer through the low quality footage. This video contains footage from people who actually know how to play Rainbow Edition at a high level, believe it or not. Please enjoy this collection of my favourite moments, and as a gift to you, I've taken the liberty to accurately subtitle the video so you know what the commentators are saying.
さあブラッカ流でもフナックさん本気でやったら多分波動の内訳ぐらいはできるでしょうねって言ったら言った時点で最強なんですおーっとさあそうブランカが強いって言われてる一つにですねこのブランカからガイルが1回で変身できるっていうなるほどねブランカでチャンスを作ってガイルで終わらせるっていうパターンがあってリオデジャネイロからダラスまですぐに行けるってことですねそうですねさあソニックソニックソニックソニック南米から北米まですぐに行けるぞチャンスメイクがちょっと強いんでそうです開幕ブランカが強い削りをサマソにするのはもう自己満足以外何もでもないしかしそれを決めていくさあラウンド2おーっとワープ投げさあ開幕はブラジルでしたが今度はアメリカみんなもうワープ完璧ですよねワープ完璧ですねいやーしかしこれワープからのその後ミスってしまったアジールさんが空中ガードしていくガーフをうまく使ったかいやーこれ無理だこれは見えないわ今のはすごいすごい表裏卓さあラウンド3竜巻旋風脚を決めていったのはアジールさんそうなんですよ、ね、これガードしたくないぞ食らいたくないしガードしたくないさあどうなるユウはガイルをダウンとかチャンスは作れるんですけどそこから崩すのが本当難しいさあ波動が3つあるこれを消すのは苦しいぞ相打ちさあどうなるどっちが速いどっちが速い竜巻旋風脚竜巻旋風脚さあここで船っ子ガイルどう追い詰めるしゃがんでいれば大竜巻は確かに当たらないがさあどう追い詰める竜巻を出し続けるアジール選手うまいワープ投げダウンを取って昇竜で抜けた竜巻入ってうわーサマスがめちゃくちゃ入った
Isn't Rainbow Edition amazing? I normally cover regular fighting games on the channel, but in terms of sheer spectacle and mind-melting craziness, you've got to admit that Rainbow Edition absolutely takes the cake. If you think about it, Rainbow Edition has had a long-lasting legacy. Things like air fireballs, Chun-Li's fireball, and a heavily increased sense of speed are now staples of the series, and it wouldn't be Street Fighter without them. Games like Alpha 3 and Super Turbo are incredibly quick and snappy, with crazy shenanigans and high damage outputs to boot. Other games like Tekken 7 and The King of Fighters 15 have so many wacky combos and trickery that it feels like part of the fighting game genre's appeal is for the crazy nature of it all. Hell, even James Goddard himself worked on 2013's Killer Instinct reboot, which is a game where combos can go on for over 20 minutes. While far from being the only Street Fighter 2 hack, Rainbow is the most iconic, as it's still being talked about and played today. I know this video is a bit of a shorter one compared to what I normally put out, but I wanted to experiment with something a bit different and more easily digestible, something a little bit bite-sized. Thanks so much for watching if you stuck all the way to the end, have this cookie that I found on Google, and I'll see you in the next one.